Welcome to Saturday morning Roundtable for Saturday of each month. Talk about our projects, where they're at, or what we might need help with, getting to the next level. And who would like to start with their project update?
I could probably start. I was lucky enough to have two people agree to have a debate on the GoalieBot/Reason Score platform. We're talking about topics right now. It's probably going to have something to do with police officers or gun control. And it's one person who would probably fall in the liberal camp and one in the conservative camp. So it should be interesting. So hopefully I haven't quite figured out. They said they agreed to record themselves, even like reading the claims from the other side, so that we'll have some video, but that may be too much work for everyone right now. We'll see how it goes. So we're still kind of talking through all the logistics, but they think putting in 2 claims a day sounds reasonable to support or defend their position. So it should be interesting.
Want to go next, Adriel?
Sure. So my project has been, I guess, going okay, but also stalled a tiny bit. I've been working with the developer over Upwork on the job posting for the person who will actually be doing the direct development. We both had to postpone our meetings several times, and I think we're going to have a meeting tomorrow where, in theory, we'll actually post the job. So hopefully I'll be hiring the actual developer that will start to work on the platform, and then I'll actually have something started. So that'll be good.
Wait, who were you meeting with if you haven't posted the job?
So I'm working with a developer on Upwork who won't be doing the development, but I just sort of fired them for like an hour a week consulting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just
okay.
Over.
So they helped you build to figure out how to hire a developer. Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. And just to help me like refine the messaging around how to explain it to a developer. So now that like he's sort of able to understand it, I can know like, oh, okay, that explanation does sort of work, and I had to make these changes to be able to explain it to him. So
cool. Good.
Yeah, that's been a pretty good use of my time, I think, was doing that project, because I was always worried about the design documents and that sort of thing not actually being understood, or overkill or underkill, or what it was.
Really kind of explaining the project and the needs is one of the most difficult things about kind of doing what we're doing.
Absolutely.
On all of our projects.
It's true. Having a third party, that makes sense, and that does not make sense. It's definitely helpful. I don't remember. I think last time, I haven't done a solution revision between now and last time, because I think I'd already done the queer autistic dating one already. But that has emerged into a live TikTok project. A project that isn't, I'm not the vision holder. It's Lindsay who's the vision holder for one free app. And it's what it sounds like. One, the vision a lot of us have, the one app to rule them all, and that it's free, which is not part of my vision. The one big one, definitely the free part, I'm more looking to co-create with enough resources that for the individual it doesn't feel like a lot, but collectively it's a lot, because I don't want to have to go for grants and other things. That being said, we put in 2 grant applications with the Future Fund, one which was the one free app that one of the third person, Jasenia, did most of the work on, and then Kylie did most of the work for peer coaching and weave to put it in, but I made the founders video. So that's what we did over the last month and peer coaching itself seems to be, we've stopped the Sunday session because we just weren't getting people there like we thought we were. We thought that if we opened a weekend one, that would be the one that everyone would go to. Wasn't the case. We're in the process of looking to do a little bit of a collab with future thinkers, so that they can possibly send it out to their participants to invite them to peer coaching, what they would want that to look like, whether they want to have one on their own, whether they want to invite people to ours, whether they want to attend or not. So we're looking for that. And then the one free app live, like we just go live on Thursdays. I don't attend any of the other meetings besides the one we have right after, but they have kind of admin and tech meetings. I feel like it's moved faster than most other projects have been part of. I think there's something about autistic people that think like it's like they think we have to move faster than we do, and so we've moved really fast. Like we already have an MVP of like a body doubling network on Signal for people to just put out, right? I'm cleaning my house. I want someone to sit with me, or I'm working on this project. And it took a few weeks to figure that out, but it went live a few days ago. And we're going to do another one that's kind of like Idea Cafe, because it's kind of the conversation piece of it. It's nice because I feel like I offer the suggestions and then they run with them, because it's like, great. And since we're doing it live and they have more of a following, it's actually people watching it and participating on like these that we've been doing for how long now. But it's been interesting, but it's also like any project, conflict in, your own personal conflict, interpersonal conflict, and social media conflict all at once. But I'm excited for that. And I'm excited to hear back in the next, hopefully, a few days, because they said 2 weeks, but I think they got a lot more funding applications than they probably anticipated. Or we'll see what happens if any of the projects in GameB adjacent got funding.
Yeah, just to kind of mention, the Canonical Debate Lab just heard that we won the Critics Prize. I don't know if y'all saw in Future Fund, they had we'll give you $1,000 if you tell us what's wrong with our prize. And they did like a 15-page suggestion. They said, hey, okay, you get $1,000, and then we'll talk about. But the main thing was, we really want to work with you guys, so let's continue the conversation. So they seemed open to that, and we weren't sure for a while there because we didn't even show up on the list on the website. So Jubilee, are yours are on the website, the one that you're?
I don't know. When did they put up a list? Because I was kind of looking every few days.
Last week, I thought they had some on there, but maybe they were taking time to put them out there because the CDL one didn't show up for the longest time after some others did. So they may be dripping them in. Also, Jubilee, I just thought that if you're trying to find a time that's good for a group of people, zcal.io, I think, on their free plan now, they have kind of like a class booking thing to where you can like set up some times, and then multiple people can join at that same time. I don't know if they have a minimum number of people before it works or something like that, but that may be where they can put in multiple. I think they can say multiple times that they're free. So it's not just like a doodle where it's like everyone's finding one time, but it's like a group of up to 5 people could pick a time each individually and all be scheduled at the same time. I don't know. It might be something worth looking into.
How do you spell
Zcal? Zcal.co. So they have is that it? It's not coming up. Maybe that's not it.
It's coming up for me.
Okay, it's just really slow right now. Maybe my internet's slow.
I think I got it. Let's make scheduling personal again. That one.
Yeah. Well, they have 3 different types, and I'm having a spinning thing, so I can't see one. But there's one where like you can take a group of people and find one single meeting time. These are the times I'm free and someone could book it. And then there's the group invite. Let multiple invitees meet with you at the same time. Best for booking webinars and classes. So that's one of their options. Anyways, you might have a look at that.
Yeah, before we applied for the future funding, there's like when we split off into a second peer coaching group, it makes sense for the volunteer co-host to pick when they're available, when they want to offer it. But if we're getting paid to do that, then it's more about when the group needs them. Either way, though, we don't have a group yet, right? So it's hard to kind of ask people when they're available. But it might be worth putting out to the TikTok community of like, when are people available? And then picking the one that the most people are available at, even if it's not those actual people, right? They don't necessarily need to be the ones.
Just find a common time. Yeah, I think there's a way that you could schedule it so that when 5 people choose the same time, it would automatically book or something like that. But or a certain number of people, minimum number of people. Yeah.
It's weird. They have a free forever option, and then coming soon. So, do they have a paid option at the moment?
No, but the paid option they mentioned is going to be kind of corporate stuff. So if you need to have 5 team members and they all access the same account, and then you need to be able to manage people coming on and off, and you have linked up to Okta or some other, thing. So the feature set they have for their always free thing looks pretty generous for individuals. So I just switched over to them from Calendly. But it's a pretty easy switch for me because I always redirect from my website. So I send everyone to my site. So I can switch providers pretty easily.
Does it work like Calendly, where like you can put in your schedule and people can just automatically book you?
Yeah.
Nice. I know some people have been looking into that, and one of the reasons I don't know if it works for me because I don't know when I'm going to be available, but for other people, to have the and calendar.
It works if you use your personal calendar and have everything on it. But if you're one of those people that like uses a paper calendar for most of your stuff and then just the online, then you have to enter everything in the calendar. And I finally trained my wife to put stuff on that calendar. Otherwise, people will book over it. So, it's not useful for everyone.
But what I'm hearing is your wife gets to schedule you through Calendly as well.
Well, she can do it directly on the calendar, but
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Like if she has a paper version that she scheduled you for and it doesn't connect with that,
right?
Then you've double booked.
Yeah. I should charge her for my time. I think. It's highly valuable, right? She likes it. She should be willing to pay for it.
And supply and demand. Like she doesn't have another husband, so like
right. There's only one.
Who else is she going to schedule for that time?
And then for my GameB day job, where I'm making large corporations richer, me and the coworker are forming a cooperative, so that'll be interesting. So we'll both kind of have ownership, and so that's going to be the legal structure rather than it's going to be a LLC, but it's a cooperative style. So, but yeah, it should be interesting. And then he said he could also make it a benefit co-op. So in your bylaws, you can say, like, actually, he does co-ops, and he's a lawyer, and his business is a B classification, so that he also has a line in there saying that we benefit or at least don't harm the environment. So even though that's completely unrelated to his legal services, he has that in his corporate bylaws. So that's really cool.
I like that.
We problem solve for the rest of the hour.
Yeah.
Solve something. We've got 45 minutes. 3 of our brains have to be able to.
One other thing I was thinking about a use for GoalieBot is kind of an explainer for. It's like a frequently asked questions for a. For either like an activist group or just anything, like both of your projects. Like what are the questions that people normally come up? Like Adriel, yours, they say, well, are politicians going to game the system and stuff like that. And so it would be, I guess I haven't really thought about what the main thing with the main, everything comes off a main claim. The main claim would be, will Conferati be successful and useful? It could be the main claim. Then you can list out all the all the things you think will come about because of it, and then all the concerns that people tend to ask you, and then under each of those you can put the pros and cons and say, you know, well,
Right.
we've done this to mitigate this and all that stuff. So that might be another use of, and that could be under Goaliebot or Reason Score, and then you could also post it on your own sites without any branding at all. Although you kind of need an explanation of how to read it because it's not a common format yet. But that might be an interesting experiment if you guys think it'd be worth your time to do that for any of your projects.
If people asked questions, yes. But I find that it's actually kind of like, I know how to save the world. It's like, I have no questions, but no, you don't. Like, it's like, oh, interesting. That doesn't bring up any curiosity, any like how, why, where, what. No? Okay.
I mean, in that same vein, it might be interesting to have have the explainer. So when people say no, you don't, say, well, here's a document with 40 claims that says why we think it'll work. Now it does give you a little bit more believability, although I'm not sure it would really help. It might help with some people. Like, I've had someone look at it and they, there's 40 reasons why it should work. I mean, you could list those out normally, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is like a living system, right? It's going to work not because like some people, it's like, because I've thought like, because it just will. It's a no-brainer. Nothing will fail on it. It's like, if we bake failure into it and we have a process to make it better, we haven't failed at it. It's going to continue happening until something happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of resiliency is designed into it.
Like when you have a cooperative, it's a different, not that cooperatives can't fail. Mech failed. I just walked by their big building here and it's empty. It's kind of sad. And which I wanted to ask, what is that? The co-op you're creating, it's a worker co-op?
Yes. Yeah. That's probably what it would fall into. I wouldn't mind having so we do contract work. Well, yeah. I mean, we do contract work right now for large Fortune 100 companies in the US. So they probably wouldn't be interested in joining the co-op as the customer. So it's kind of GameB. But yeah, for us and anyone that comes and works for us, they would become part owner. They would get ownership and they would get voting rights in what the company does.
Nice. Yep, that sounds like a worker co-op.
Yep. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, that's
worker co-ops I follow on TikTok now. I don't know if they're legally worker co-ops, but that are more goods based, right? One of them's a soap making company and they just went viral. Another it's 2 to 4 months out before you get your products. We're making them live and that's how long it takes. And people getting irate. Some people are totally fine with that. I just put in an order. I'm like, let's see how long it takes. But they have reasonably priced. And they don't want to increase their price because they want things to be available to people and they're not going to push their staff. So hiring temporary and they're hiring permanent, and temporary don't get voting rights, of course. But I was also like, do they share in the price? Like, what is, I don't know. They didn't answer I wanted to know how temporary workers worked in their particular co-op. Because if there's, I don't know, it probably wouldn't work in yours, right? Where you take on a contract and with the two of you how long it's going to take. And then if you take on something else happens, you need to take on more people, but it's not like making soap.
Yeah. And we're talking about the details on that, and it's very flexible. We are probably saying that before you get ownership and voting rights, you probably have to work a minimum of a certain number of hours. So like 100 or 1,000, we haven't decided how big that kind of vesting cliff will be. But it just really kind of makes sense because there's a lot of kind of paperwork and maintenance for bringing someone in. If they just come in and work a couple hours on a project, we don't want to spend the time on that. And then also manage the payouts all through the future if they have 0.0001% of the company. If we do a dividend or a distribution, sending them a check for a penny. So we got to put things in there, say like minimum check size would be $25 or $100 or something. yeah, so we're figuring out all that minutia to make it both fair and not, onerous on if someone comes in and leaves pretty quickly. But yeah, I mean, if we had, I mean, I'm part-time. I guess that's different from temporary. But one of my goals is that, if Gullybot gets off the ground and I can make a living, reducing divisiveness and bringing people together in agreement over contentious issues, then I probably won't spend that much time working for these Fortune 100 companies. So, and I would still have in theory, I would still have some ownership of that company, and they would still pay me if some of the products sell.
Do corporations vote with their dollar in, like, what am I trying to ask? If I'm going to buy something, I would totally buy from worker co-op. But if I was a corporation that was sociopathic, I would go to my way to not buy from a workers co-op, because I'd be like, oh, that can't be an option. I want my little minions to be, like, beholden to, like, whether they still go to the lowest price point and they're like, oh, you can do the best job for this price point, we'll hire you, we don't care if you're a workers co-op. Or whether they would go out of their way to not hire workers co-op.
I think if they're buying a service or a product, I don't think they care the governance structure of the organization that they're buying from. If they're hiring you, that might be a little different. So since we're contractors to them, but actually a lot of companies, there's a lot of things about diversity, which we don't help with the diversity, but there's a lot of things about it may be a bonus in the space that we work in, because we work with very, kind of conscious companies, and them hiring a co-op, I think, would look good to their decision makers. So it depends on the space. If it was Facebook, I still think they would just go with the lowest price, but some corporations that are conscious might choose a co-op even though it's a slightly higher price, as long as it's not exorbitant.
Yeah, no, good, decent companies are companies that want to greenwash themselves, or
right. Yeah. At least they're greenwashing. That's better than not doing anything at all. But
that having, I guess, like, the equivalent would be companies that absolutely don't want their workforce unionized, but they don't care that their suppliers are unionized. They don't care that it's like, we're not
usually not.
We're not against it. We're just not for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess if it was something where you were working intimately with their line level staff and you were union and they're not, then they might decide to not hire you because they don't want that thought to enter their employees' minds. It's possible.
It's like, we'll hire you, but you need to show us you're really miserable.
Yeah.
Just be really bitchy every time you deal with anyone in our company.
Have to be chained to the desk.
Make it look horrible. Yeah, no, that sounds about right. I'm excited by the new ownerships, the new ownership structures and the new stuff that's emerging because of workers just not wanting to work under the current paradigm and not returning to work, which I didn't see coming. But I guess, when people have had time off and then you want them to go back to work for next to nothing. Nah.
They were off the treadmill long enough to realize they were on a treadmill before.
Yeah. Well, and how much of the push is like work that was being done remotely just fine for 2 years? All of a sudden, like, no, you have to come to the office now.
Yeah.
Why?
And I didn't think about it also. A lot of the service industry, especially in the US, where it's tip based, the minimum wage is much lower if you're tips employees. So then all of a sudden you're working, even if you are working a bar, there's so few people coming in, or a restaurant, that your total income's down. So it's like, well, I'm getting paid half of what I was getting paid before for the same amount of time. I'm not going to do that. And I don't know if things have recovered that's still an option, but still they've also thought about it. And now they're like, well, maybe now's a good time to change, or make a change.
And whether employers in any way can hold out, because I don't know if this is a temporary thing, right? If they can wait 3 years, will workers be desperate again? Because with recession and inflation happening at the same time, people need to work. At the same time, I feel it becomes a much more viable option to grow a garden. Like, it's like, go back to work for 60 hours with people who don't appreciate me, or grow my own carrots so I don't have to deal with the inflation. The free ones or the overly priced ones at the grocery store?
Yeah, assuming you have some land. Or, yeah, I guess you could do that in apartment as well, but it'd be hard. Yeah, there was an Applebee's executive sent out an email to his people saying, yeah, it's going to probably be easier to lower wages because of inflation. And then someone leaked that to the employees, and a lot of employees quit, and then he finally got fired. But yeah, inflation might kind of put those people in a situation where they have to. It'll change the economics, put them back kind of under a thumb. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much changes.
But it's like people have had time off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's easier to come together and organize and make things. Like, what I've seen people organize on are helpful things, and then also like, let's go protest out in the street, which is like asking someone else to do something that they don't know how to do and are never going to be able to do. But if that organization starts being what we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If like, hey, spend some time doing your own interpersonal work, your group work, and creating something that is valuable, we don't need any of that. And we're not creating in a way like, I've only just heard you're starting a cooperative, but I can imagine the two of you aren't going to create it in a way where you're like, and then let's hire people and pay them less and less and less so we can. It's in fact the exact opposite. Like, if someone's hired, they become equal.
Yeah. But plus then they get votes so they can change their own salaries to some extent. Yeah. I had another point there, but I think I forgot it now.
But it's like, as wages go, not wages, sorry, as prices go up, like the companies are like, well, we can charge anything. It turns out we can pay our employees less and less. What do you mean they don't want to come into work? I don't understand. Now we have a shortage and we have to increase it. We already increased it just based on it was fun. There was a pandemic, so why not? Like, they're really creating the perfect storm for revolution. And I'm hoping it's like GameB type revolution and not a violent one, not a seize power and then what do we do with it? It's like, you already have the power. Just work amongst yourselves. Grow gardens, create tech, create art, do anything besides work for them. But while we're working, we need to be able to order in from restaurants. So we're probably going to need worker co-ops. I don't know, something.
Anything interesting happening in the GameB space in general? I
haven't been paying too much attention. I feel like it's moved off of Facebook and onto more Mighty Networks, and it's because of how Mighty Networks works. I don't think anyone spends all day on it. I spend all day on TikTok when I spend time on social media. It's much more entertaining than Facebook. Like, Facebook is an interesting little... They've shot themselves in their own foot, and they can't... Like, I have a little thing that tells me when people leave Facebook. Well, it tells me when people stop being friends with me is what it tells me. And sometimes it's because they stop being friends with me, and sometimes it's because they don't have an account anymore. And it used to be much more often, and now it's not at all. Like, unless, if their account is gone, that is the case. They're not getting kicked off. And before it felt like they were getting kicked off because then their new account would friend request you, right? As opposed to now it feels like they want bots to join because otherwise their share price goes lower. Because they definitely aren't having as many people join as leaving, and that looks bad. It looks like you're a dying company, which you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess none of us probably posted about this meeting in the Mighty Networks. I think some of us posted about the last meeting and the meeting before that, and had a little bit of interest, although no one really showed up. And I didn't have the time or the wherewithal to post it there. It's unfortunate. That's kind of challenging because StreamYard and probably none of the other systems link into Mighty Networks natively, but yeah.
No, but we could possibly post the live YouTube video. Is that you don't have to be part of the group to watch? And if we post that one every month there, then I don't know if it plays when we're live, but I know because the only event that is up is peer coaching. It's the only event that's been up. And so when I go on there, when we're doing peer coaching, it says live because it's an event. It's happening during that time period. Other than that, it doesn't. I don't know if we were live in the GameB projects, if it would tell anyone. I don't even understand Mighty Networks. Like I don't go and really read the messages and the event. That's basically it. I don't even understand their nested comments or it's all the same drama. Like there isn't drama in the Mighty Networks group, but in Facebook, when you're competing with the news feed for anything else, it feels like as a GameB admin, you almost want to allow drama to bring people back to the page, but that's not what we're about, right? So it's like there's one person who might be kicking out because they just keep we have them on post approval. They just keep bringing up the same thing over and over and over again. It's like, okay, like we're not anti another perspective, but when you post the same thing 6 times, we don't need it. We don't need to have the hot take on climate change or not climate change or. But that without any drama, then you just go, people don't even know you exist. Which is the unfortunate fun part of social media.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to call it a day?
Yeah, I suppose. I can't think of any other topics other people would find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, maybe if some of us have some time, we could see if we can post the old YouTube links or this one and see if anyone in the Mighty Networks wants to join with any projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Hear about new people's projects.
Yeah. Because we are getting like 3 or 4 people a week or something joining the GameB projects group. I noticed, I see in emails, but I think that's just curiosity. I don't know if there's not a live community there right now.
Yeah, no, the joining. I don't know why I'm an admin on the Mighty Networks page. I guess just because I'm an admin on the Facebook group because they asked and I was like, no, I don't understand Mighty Networks, but somehow I have the ability to accept people. So if I have it open, I get the chime every time somebody requests to join and then I can say yes or no. So there's about, I'd say maybe 5 to 10 people joining a day. Wow. Based on how often I'm dinged when it's open. Because I'm usually not the person who lets them in. So that's fairly good. I think it's still from the Rebel Wisdom video. That's what most people, actually sending that to people. And now there's a way you can link and invite people to the Mighty Networks page, which I don't think there was before.
And if we put a link to the current live YouTube thing, when it's over, it will become just the video. It uses the same link, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's if you post on Facebook. I'm not 100% sure if you post on Mighty Networks, but the link is the same. So yes, it would make no sense for it not to do that.
Yeah, okay. I know just before this, I was on YouTube and it showed me like a placeholder for this meeting saying like coming live in this time. So I think, you'll have the same URL the whole time. Either it's in the future or it's live or here's the recorded version.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, I'll go ahead and share it right now and we'll see how it looks. Cool. All right. Well, thanks so much for the time and look forward to keeping up to date on your projects.
Also, FYI, I might not be here next month when we do this because I get to go pick up some live butterflies. So it's whatever time of day that is.
Right.
If it's at this time, then I will not be coming here because I'll have to drive to go get those. Well, it's cocoons.
Sounds cool.
I'm picking up cocoons that will turn into butterflies.
Right.
Will then release.
Awesome.
All right. So see you next week if butterflies, contingent on butterflies.
All right.
Next month. Okay.
All right. Bye bye.
All right.